All right, so it's time for our keynote address, and I'll just say a little bit about our speaker before she comes up. Her name is Funmi Iyanda, born on the 27th of July 1971, better known as Funmi Iyanda. She's an award-winning broadcaster, journalist, columnist, and blogger. She produced and hosted Nigeria's most popular and authoritative talk show, New Dawn with Funmi, which aired on the national network for over 8 years. Funmi is the CEO of Ignite Media, a content-driven media organization operating out of Lagos. In 2001, she was honored as a young global leader by the World Economic Forum and was recently named one of Forbes' 20 youngest power women in Africa. Iyanda attended Herbert Macaulay School in Lagos, Nigeria, and then went to the University of Ibadan, where she graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Geography. Fresh out of university, Funmi explored her deep passion for sports, entering the world of sports journalism. One of the few Nigerian female sports journalists, she covered the 1999 Female Football World Cup, the All-Africa Games in Zimbabwe, as well as the 2000 and 2004 Olympic Games in Sydney and Athens. She was an active member of the Nigerian Football Association between 1995 and 2003. Please, with a wonderful round of applause, maybe a standing ovation for Funmi Iyanda, our keynote speaker. Please sit down, everybody. Thank you very much. Where my cover if my son in Europe, everybody. So all the time, why that one might be paying go to work, people near the beginning, people the master from pay. Aduke lórúkọ mi Aduke Iyanda Ọlọ́run láti Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́ ní Ọ̀yọ́ State. This is my state. This is my home. I am Yoruba. I am from this place. I went to school in Ibadan. Some of the 4 happiest years of my life were spent in the University of Ibadan. I love it. Okay, we're not going to be degenerating to that this evening. I thought to myself that what was I going to say to this group of young people? And the first thing I thought was, kind of old. Because I look at the faces of everybody and I remember my 4 years. I remember what it was like to be at your stage. And while we were driving here, we went through Adamasingba market. And I remember in parsley material, I found one old man to buy there. And I made my first pair of culottes in 1991. In that same market, one tailor sold it for me. It took me two weeks of fighting to get the culottes just right. The reason why I'm saying to you is that I can see that all of you here will have an incredible future if you choose it. And that's what I'm going to talk about this evening. I usually don't read. I like to talk from the heart, but I really wanted to read this bit. So I thought I'd be able to print it if I couldn't, so let me just go through it. Okay. You know the thing about aging is this. In my head, I'm permanently 25. I'm not going to move from 25 in my head. But my body knows that it is not 25. And I was saying to a friend of mine the other time that the problem with aging, the problem with youth in particular, is that age is catching. It's a very contagious disease. It's waiting at the other end for all of us. The question is, what are we going to do about ourselves and our life at our youngest and strongest and most vibrant, most daring? So I thought I'd start by telling you a bit about Mrs. Okoro. Since it's a season for open letters, I thought, let me write an open letter to this generation. Let's start with telling you about Mrs. Okoro. Before I turned 9, school was a vaguely irritating distraction from the pursuit of happiness in play and adventure. Every school day, I'd wear my red checkered dress and burgundy beret uniform to passively endure school. I was not a rebellious child, I was a bored child. Who dared dream through classes until lunch when the school served asaro and chicken with bananas and groundnuts as snacks?
That was until Mrs. Okoro came. Mrs. Okoro made letters into words, words into stories, which became life. I loved that dearly. Perhaps it was transference, as I recently lost my mother. But at 9, I started to go to school because Mrs. Okoro would be in class. One day after school, I was walking out of the gates when I saw Mrs. Okoro get into the bus ahead of me. So I ran across the road to be in the same bus. I didn't bother with checking for traffic. And vaguely remember thinking, heaven was looking rather like Akoka Road. I had been hit by a car. And as I lay down there on the floor, I saw Mrs. Okoro's concerned face and the face of all the others at the bus stop. The man who hit me was distraught. He was a student at Unilag. And in the moment before real pain cut through my adrenaline, I thought, oh, how nice. It's a grand university student, not some infernal bus driver. So he took me in his car to the University Health Center, where, wait for it, they gave me ice cream. Before they started treating me. And then after treating me, they put me in the big university bus and they drove me home. My heart was swollen with pride as the shiny big university bus drove down the dirt road of my street in Bariga. Not a dime was exchanged. No one called my father at work. There were no mobile phones and we had no phones at home. There was no need. The system took care of me. It was Nigeria 1980. Recently, on my way out of Nigeria, at the Murtala Airport, the place was thrown into chaos. People were sweating and swearing. Passengers were stranded. The electronic equipment had stopped working. The place stank because there was no water to clean the toilets. The problem wasn't that there was no electricity at the airport. That's normal. It was that somebody had not supplied the diesel to run the generators. I sat in a corner observing the people. Those who fascinated me most were the band of men, mid-30s to early 40s, Nigeria's emerging business and political middle class. I recognized them by their Louis Vuitton luggage, their logo jackets, and velvet slippers. It is the uniform of the new elite, puffed up with social anxiety and an unabateable desire for the pointless. They strut about, slapping, backslapping, and rolling their R's, seemingly oblivious to their environment, cocky, rude, and dismissive to the staff. I watched the white airline staff walk by with barely contained derision as they gingerly sidestepped the mess. What struck me about these men was their total lack of shame at the state of things. They are the band of new Africa rising, proudly Nigerian jingoists, living in a glass bubble as far removed from the Nigerian reality as you can get. For them, patriotism is not a recognition of failure and a determination to redress it, but a slogan t-shirt to be worn, tweeted, or liked in a state of permanent adolescence. My job is to tell stories with context. I don't always know the end of those stories. But you know what? You can write your own endings. You can make your own history. Choose your own path.